Saturday 23rd of April I drove first thing up to Uig to join the ferry to take them across to the Isle of Harris. The roads were fairly empty. Uig is actually quite a small town and there isn't really much there apart from the ferry. Luckily it was a clear day, but bitingly cold, strong wind. Once we got out to sea, the wind really picked up, although the views were beautiful. After about an hour and a half, we caught sight of Harris, which is the southern end of Harris and Lewis. That's the northern end towards Lewis. And that's the southern end where I was about to drive to. And this part you can see on the left is the Golden Road, goes over this area, which I'll see in a minute. After I disembarked, I actually drove to Scalpay, which is to the east on a peninsula, just to see what that looked like. Here than they were on Skye. Also surprising just how many houses there are. I can't imagine what everyone does. It then opened up with some beautiful open wide scenery, which once you get to the seaside you saw amazing vistas. This was a farmer just letting his sheep and cows out to roam wild. Again, completely empty roads. If you could take your eyes off the road, there were beautiful views over the islands. Most of these islands are uninhabited. Again, single track roads. Thankfully not many cars coming the other way, but everywhere I drove in the Highlands, the one thing I did see was the post office van everywhere. I can't imagine being a postman around here. That's the bridge to Scalpay, which I'm just about to go over. And then you get into the villages. Now, I've driven into the middle of absolutely nowhere, and all of a sudden you've got lots of houses and community centres and schools and sheep everywhere, lambs. The industry. Again, yet another village. You can see fishing boats there, and everywhere there were sheep and often lambs in the middle of people's gardens. I then stopped for tea and cake in a lovely little gallery, bought a couple of cards too, and then carried on back the way I'd come. Again, fantastic scenery. The place is just full of lakes and lochs, or whatever you call them. The sun made them look absolutely crystal blue, so it really was spectacular. trouble with this is that you just keep seeing the same, and each time you see it you go, wow, that's amazing. Then I started down what's called the Gold Road, so called because the amount of money that it cost to build it. It goes along the east coast of South Harris, and it is just the most tortuous road I've driven on in this entire holiday. So it's like this all the time. Tiny little road, amazing scenery, lochs on one side, the sea on the other side, sheep in front of you. Honestly, sometimes the road changed direction every 10 feet, and it was only about a foot or so wider than the wheels of the van, so you had to keep your eyes on the road and not let them stray onto the scenery around you. But it was truly spectacular. But the only issue was that it just went on forever, and after about 10 miles of this I was absolutely shattered and just couldn't wait to get to the end of it. But everywhere you're going there are people out doing their garden, there are fishermen, and sometimes you see these huge lorries which are carrying refrigerated shrimps and things like that. God knows what you'd do if you came across one of these on one of these roads, and I can't imagine what it would be like driving on these roads in the dark or in the rain, or a combination of both. It takes such a long time to drive down the east coast. Post office van again. You've got to be very careful when you go around these corners, because sometimes it changes direction unpredictably on the brow of a hill, and also the ground on either side of the road sometimes drops away about a foot, so if you got your wheel off the side of it you could end yourself up in the sea. Again, there were huge fishing trucks around there. I wouldn't like to drive one of them. Then you got onto the other side of the island once you've gone past Leverhulme, which was built by Lord Lever of soap fame, and it changes completely. You start getting lots of absolutely stunning beaches rather than the rocky crags that you got on the east side. And the roads are much straighter, but as you can see, nobody at all on the beaches because it's absolutely freezing cold because of the very strong wind, but much quicker. I mean, it took me like 20 minutes to get from the bottom to here, whereas it took me about an hour and a half on the other side of the twisty roads. And then finally up to my campsite, which is overlooking that sandy bay, which is completely deserted. There were some people huddled in the corner, but apparently you can't buy windbreaks that are strong enough to stand up to the relentless wind, which would drive me absolutely mad. So it's a bit of a poison paradise in a way, and it could do with being about 20 degrees hotter too. And there's my little van overlooking the beach. Well, just about.